A very good morning to all of you and warmly welcome you all to Brand Me. I'm Ramalka, live from Studio AirOne. It's a lovely Sunday morning and it's the festive season. Christmas is really around the corner. Just one day more to go. And I'm sure you are all in that spirit right now. So, Brand Me. What is Brand Me? You must be curious. But hold on with your curiosity and stay tuned with AirOne Brand Me. We have a special personality here today with us in Studio AirOne. Who is he? I just gave you a clue. Yes, he. How can I introduce him to you? He's a banker, speaker, corporate trainer, management consultant, and a social worker. He's a vibrant personality who has over 15 years of corporate experience in Sri Lanka financial industry. And presently, he's working as the payments product manager, global liquidity, and cash management for a leading international bank. Apart from being a successful financial professional, he has excelled in many diverse areas. He's a proud product of DSN and ICA College, currently reading for a doctorate of Business Administration at University of Wales, Trinity, St. David, UK, and successfully completed a strategic leadership program at Harvard University, USA, in 2017. He has represented Sri Lanka in 5 different disciplines and recipient of a World Award for Community Service and Leadership from International Association of Lions Club. He's a firm believer in 2 big C's. 2 big C's. What are they? Character and competence. He is none other than Asitha Pinnaduwa. Welcome you to AirOne Studio and to our program, TV show, Brand Me. A very good morning to you.
Very good morning, Ramalka.
Yes. He is here with us to inform you or give you some tips, important information to us about his experience in life, being a very competent personality, a corporate trainer, a management consultant, and a social worker. Asitha, reading your profile, a person would say, wow, and he or she would be inspired by listening to your profile. And it's a little bit, what I read was a small part of it. He or she or our viewers who are listening and watching here today with us would like to know about more and how you achieve them. Can you tell us some factors that affect one's success to be a successful person in the corporate sector? We'll start off with that.
Right. Thank you. Ramalka, in fact, that's a very tough question to answer because that depends largely on the type of industry which you are in and what kind of operating environment that you operate. But to me, having worked for the corporate sector for the past 15 years and also holding certain leadership positions in external organizations, rather than going into nitty-gritty, actually I would like to encapsulate what would require to become a successful person in corporate ladder. As I mentioned earlier, I think to me, the most important part about being successful is about in your job, rather in your corporate career. Firstly, it's about finding what you really love to do, because job can be different, Jobs can be vary from industry to industry. But then again, it's critical to find something really you're passionate about. So what happens is, when you start something, when you engage in a job which you are passionate about, actually you will not be working, because you will be living on that dream. So you will not really feel tired, or you will not really feel demotivated, because day in, day out, you are there. So that's your basically, that will become your ultimate goal. So number one is to identify, rather engage in what you are truly passionate about. Rest is actually secondary. And second one, in my perspective, as organization or as an individual, for shareholders, what matters is how much value we add to our all the stakeholders, precisely our customers, our internal customers, external customers, and all the people who are engaged in the operating environment. So organization, it's all about adding value to customers, rather people. So to be able to be successful in your personal career, it's important to understand your competencies and keep on adding value to what you do. So it can be, you can be a blue collar job holder, you can be a white collar job holder, but irrespective of your job role, it's critical to add value. So keep on reinventing of what you do, and understand and identify the ways and means of doing your job better than what you did yesterday. So to me, successful corporate career largely depend on how much you add value to your corporate, to your organization, and to the society, and to the shareholder. And thirdly, in my view, I firmly believe that, I think I should say this should be the number one. To me, successfulness of your corporate career depend on the level of integrity that you demonstrate. So that's why even on my profile, you said that I firmly believe in 2 C's. One is character and one is competence. So character equals to integrity. Integrity, in simple terms, it's all about doing the right thing. Because in an era where everything has become commercialized, and because of the severe competition, most of the people are trying to cut corners, try to find shortcuts to achieve the life goal or their corporate goals. So therefore, to me, it's all about integrity. It's not about what you achieve, it's about how you achieve. That means, you should be able to proudly say, here, look, I did the right thing. Sometimes the right thing may not be cost effective, but as long as you do the right thing, based on whatever the religion that you believe, you will be blessed with the right opportunities, with the right people at the right time. So to me, those are the 3 critical ingredients to be able to be successful in the corporate ladder. So third one being the integrity. Yeah. Hope I answered your question.
Yes, indeed. So doing the right thing and choosing what you are passionate in, very important points. So when choosing the right thing and doing the right thing, or doing what you are passionate, there are some things we need to come from ourselves. Everything we do in a workplace results from communication, isn't it?
Of course.
Yes, being able to communicate effectively, like 2 of us doing right now, is important in a workplace. So, can you explain the importance and improvement of communication skills in the corporate sector?
Most certainly. Ramalka, in fact, successfulness of the organization or an individual, to me, largely depend on how effectively that we communicate. It's not about what you say, it's all about how you say. It's all about how you communicate. to a third party, how you decode that message. Because, I mean, communication being a very wider domain, it can be brought into different categories. It can be interpersonal communication or organizational communication. But as I mentioned earlier, whatever the domain that we in, the effective, seamless communication is the key for your growth, or the organizational success, or the personal growth. And also, communication can be broadly defined into two categories. One I would say the verbal communication, and other one being the non-verbal communication. Because even the empirical studies done on the communication that reaffirm that the successfulness of the communication largely depend on the non-verbal communication. If you take it as a percentage, only 7% matters in terms of verbal communication. 93% includes non-verbal communication. And also, taking one step ahead, if you break that 93% into another two quadrants, one being actually 58% matters. 58% is all about your body language, how you demonstrate yourself, how you perceive yourself. And also, the balance 38%, if you take, that constitutes with the tone that you communicate. It's not about the word that you communicate, it's about the tone that you communicate. So therefore, non-verbal communication actually plays a critical role in interpersonal communication. So it's critical to build that non-verbal communication piece, because that constitutes of 93% of the total communication domain. So there are actually a couple of key ways and means of improving your communication. One would be, no one can't really force you to communicate effectively. That has to come within. So you need to, as a young person, you need to have that personal interest of improving yourself on daily basis. So to me, the first thing would be to grab whatever the opportunity that may come across to communicate. So when I say communicate, it can be a corporate presentation, or it can be a presentation which you do at club level, or it can be a presentation which you do in your community, maybe at temple, maybe at your church, maybe at your mosque, or maybe whatever the opportunity that you get to communicate, you need to make use of it. Rather than just doing it how you did it during last time, you need to make sure, you need to make that conscious effort and do it 1% better than how you did last time. So number one is grab the opportunity. So next question would be, how can we how can we take this opportunity? So actually there are a couple of ways and means of doing it. In fact, for young people, actually you get lots of, unlike a couple of years back when the digital domain was not the primary source of communication. Now actually everything has become more digitalized and much more seamless. So therefore, as young people, you can join, there are certain clubs that basically teach you about the effective communication. So it's include the presentation skills, the writing skills, the body language, etc. So it's, as I mentioned, you need to go that extra mile. Otherwise, you can't expect things to happen. So you need to proactively go for it. So one thing is that to take the opportunity, and also the proactively reaching out for those organization, institutions, and get really engaged with them and learn new things. So that's one way of going about it. And yeah, so basically to me that's what it's all about. And also what matters is, and also other than reaching out to those such organizations, other than what you could do is, actually there are lots of online and offline training programs which will actually teach you how to communicate, how effectively that you can communicate, how effectively that you can articulate your message. Some people may consider it as a cost but in my view, it's not a cost, it's an investment that you make for yourself. Because as I mentioned, what matters is not what you communicate, it's about how you communicate. So effective communication is the key for your personal success and your organizational success. So I think those are the two key main areas, and followed by the constant relentless practice. Practice makes you perfect. Without practice, you can't be effective communicator. Even the person who's speaking in front of you was never been a public speaker, or rather never had the I would say the talent, the inbuilt, rather born talent of being a presenter. But then again, about 8 years back, I thought of, no, this is what I should take up. Then I pursue on my dream. So this is where I am at the moment. So it's not something cannot be done. It's something can be done, but it needs your personal attention and your absolute concentration. So practice is the key. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, practice makes you perfect. I truly agree with you, Asitha, with that statement. And I hope all our viewers got a very clear idea about the importance and improvement of communication skills. It's not what you say, it's how you say, how you convey your ideas and messages to the others, your audience. And it is very important in the corporate sector and for your career, as Asitha mentioned, and I think he is one of the best examples that exemplifies that shows us how he has improved himself with practice, stating us here today, practice makes you perfect, and the importance of communication skills. With that, we'll move on to a short break. Stay tuned with us. We are AirOne, and you're here with us with Brand Me, with Asitha Pinnaduwa. With Brand Me with Asitha Pinnaduwa. You're watching Brand Me with AirOne, and I would like to say good morning to you if someone happened to be in with our program now. Before that, before talking with Asitha, I would like to remind about our main organizer, Leo Club, Mount Rainier, Orient, Centennial, and organizing partners, Leo Club of Mortuaria, Centennial, Leo Club of Nevada Diamond Stars, Leo Club of Cambrians, Leo Club of University of Colombo, Faculty of Science, Leo Club of Moratuara, Ratmalana, Leo Club of University of Alumni, Leo Club of University of Rupula, Leo Club of Mahinda College, Leo Club of Tangol Balika Vidyalaya, Leo Club of Kalutara Balika Vidyalaya, and also our technical partner, Wild Art, and our media partner, Colombo Beacon. Yes, we are back with our talk with Asitha. Asitha, companies have brands and products have brands. And do we have a brand? Viewers, do we have a brand? A question for you, just think for a while. But many of us aren't comfortable with developing a brand for ourselves, what we called a personal brand, as we feel like you are selling your soul. What do you think about it? What is personal branding? What is a brand for a person? Could you tell us about that as well?
Yes, Ramalka, that's a great question indeed. But firstly, before I express what personal branding is about, let me tell you what personal branding is not.
Okay.
Because Sri Lanka being a different culture, we actually have different perception about personal branding. Because I do appreciate and I do understand that people have different backgrounds and different cultural views. So stemming from that, according to some people, one pool of thought is the branding is about what you wear, or what you drive, or what kind of house that you have, or in terms of the economic wealth that you possess and what you demonstrate. But personal branding, it's not that. So personal branding, to me, it's not that, because that's the general understanding about general understanding of personal branding, which is not. To me, as an organization or as a whatever the product, we have a brand. So same as you correctly said, even a living human beings also can consider as a brand. So personal branding, personal branding, it's about a set of emotions or the perceptions that you have created on someone other than yourself, and the relationship that person have with that set of values that you have created. So to me, that's what personal branding is about. It's not about the material stuff. It's about yourself and how you have really excelled yourself. Because end of the day, personal branding is critically important, because people don't just buy products. People buy brands and people buy emotions. If someone is not clear what I'm talking about, let me give you a couple of examples. But however, I must tell you, I will be taking a couple of local and global examples, but I will be really critical about that, and also need to mention that I'm here not to promote any or discriminate any brand. It's just that I'm taking for the purpose of learning. If you take a brand like Apple, global brand, one of the biggest brands in the world, and if you ask what's the difference between Apple mobile unit and HTC mobile, but if you take the functionality of the mobile or whatever the device that you use, you hardly, if you are really tech genius, or in that case, let's compare against Samsung. When you compare the technical aspect of it, you hardly see any difference. Sometimes so-called, I mean, the brand of maybe Samsung or HTC may have much better functionality in terms of the technical aspect. But still, people are willing to pay a premium of more than $100 to $200 per unit to buy that brand. That because the aura, the image, that perception, that emotion built around that Apple brand, actually people are willing to forego that the premium that they pay, and also maybe a little bit of certain technical aspect that they're losing out. But still, Apple still considered as the mobile in this generation. Yeah. So that's one example. And if you take example in local domain, let's take Royal College, Colombo, and Galambindru Central, right? So both are government institutions. And if you really see, what's the difference between the curriculum covered at Royal College, Colombo 7 and Galambindru Central, right? So if you take the curriculum, it's the same. There can't be different curriculum for Royal College and different curriculum for Galambindru Central, right? College, right? So the curriculum is same. And the output also, we assume that the output should be the same. But the perception that's been created, that emotions being created around that, the brand of Royal, it's much powerful. Despite being one of the oldest educational hub, rather, institutions, Royal has, built that aura among themselves, as a brand. So it's a living brand. Yeah? So you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes.
And also, if you take another classic example, if you take a pen. Now, what's the difference between a Mont Blanc pen, where you may have to spend almost $100, and also what's the difference between a Mont Blanc and a cross pen, where you have to spend only $20? So if you take the ultimate purpose, the objective of having a pen is to simply write. So despite the cost of the instrument, the ultimate objective is to write. But people do pay that thumping premium to absorb, to associate, and to own that brand, because that's a global brand which has been existing for so many years, more than 50 to 100 odd years. So people perceive that brand, and people would love to spend money to associate that brand. Yeah. So that's the power of brand. So when we apply the same theory to our personal life, personal branding is all about that. As I mentioned, personal branding, it's not about what you wear, how expensive the watch, how expensive your watch is, or how expensive your pen is, or how expensive your vehicle is. It's all about how much that you have excelled in one particular domain. It can be in terms of education. It can be technical expert. It can be example, if you are even if you are a janitor, if you are really expert on that particular domain, you will become a brand. Let's take another one classic global example. You must be aware, Sir Richard Branson. Yeah. So he actually brought a corporate dimension, corporate culture to a different level. Because generally CEOs are supposed to be be looked at as very serious and not really fun. Very the communication was very rigid. But then again, he brought the branding. He used his personal branding to take the Virgin Group to a different level. So he actually completely transformed that culture, because he brought that fun element, adventure. So personal branding, it's about how you express yourself, and that will become your corporate identity. And even now, if you travel in Virgin Atlantic, if you happen to travel in Virgin Atlantic, still you feel his energy and passion. You will feel his energy and passion through his people. So that's the power of brand. So as the individual, it's really critical to have that, personal branding. Most importantly, what matters is it's about, specializing in one particular domain. Then you will become a brand, brand identity. In simple terms, personal branding means when someone think about one particular product or service, you should be the first person come to his mind. Example, okay, Asitha wants to hire a person to conduct a program. So, Ramalka, if you are really specialized and mastered, your name should be the first name that should come into my mind. So you should be a walking brand identity, irrespective of what you wear and and your outer appearance. That's not really material. That is also play a certain role. But the most important part is that leaving that legacy, leaving that footprint in other people's mind, where when they won't get something done, your name should come up as a, okay, this is the person that I should reach out for. And that's what you call the real personal branding.
Yes. Personal branding is not what you wear, not what you eat, not the brand of your phone or your vehicle. It's all about how you excel yourself in one particular domain. So, as Asitha mentioned, we feel that personal branding is important. And if it is important, Asitha, what are the benefits of personal branding to a person? Can you further elaborate it?
Yeah, of course, Ramaka. The key benefits of, actually there are multiple benefits of personal branding. To me, the most critical part of becoming a brand, or rather personal branding, is that the ability to express yourself, rather than just limiting yourself to a domain which someone has already defined. So when you're a brand, you have that liberty of expressing yourself. Yeah? Yes. So when you express yourself as whatever the industry, whatever the subject that you master, when you have the ability to express, that will become your brand. Then what happens is, eventually you will become a subject expert. So when you are a subject expert, actually people may want to hear from you, and your ideas will be really matter. So that's something really critically important. And also, when you really develop your personal branding, you will perceive as a brand. Yeah. Yes. So those are the key benefits what we have. And also, what happens is when we do our personal branding in proper manner, you will get lots of opportunities. As I mentioned, if someone wants to get something done, if your name is the first name that comes to their mind to get whatever the product or service done, 50% of your sale is done. So it's just a matter of closing the sale in terms of the business aspect of it. And also, if you apply the same thing to the corporate domain, that's also same. Okay, this guy is really mastered this. So this is the person that we should look up to. So eventually you will become an expert, and you will get lots of opportunities, and as a result, you will get incremental financial and non-financial benefits. So those are the key benefits of personal branding.
Yes, as Asitha mentioned, personal branding. Maybe it's new to you, or maybe something you knew before. It is important in the corporate sector and for your career, and there are many benefits to a person by having a personal brand. We'll continue with our talk further with Asitha Pinnaduwa, here with us today with AirOne Brand Me TV show. Stay tuned with us. We'll come back after a short break. You're back with Brand Me with Asitha Pinnaduwa live on AirOne. Today is 24th of December, the weekend, the lovely Sunday morning. We're here with Asitha Pinnaduwa to talk about some important things, and he will be giving some important facts, tips that would really help you to excel in your career in the corporate sector. We were discussing about personal branding and how it would be beneficial to you. As the founder of Amazon famously said, your brand is what people say about you when you are not in your office room. So that statement says how personal branding is important, isn't it? Yes. As we talked about what is personal branding and how it is beneficial, I would like to ask a question from you. How can personal branding lead to a successful career?
Yeah, thank you, Ramaka. That's a great question indeed. Nowadays, if you really look at the type of people what we have and the operating environment, the education has become a commodity. Unlike so many years back, where education perceived to be, limited to a certain set of people, certain set of social segments, now that has become a commodity. When I say commodity, that means each and every one, in most cases, have the access to quality education. So it can be a free education, and it can be self-funded or funded by your parents. So however, everyone have the access to right education. So as a result, when you finish your O-levels or A-levels, and also when you finish your university life, most of the people will be equipped with a basic degree. It can be basic degree or any other professional qualification. Therefore, but despite of the qualification that we have, the amount of job creation, it's not greater than the number of with compared to the output of the student. So therefore, there's a limited scarcity of job market. So as individual, we can't expect the government to provide jobs. It's up to us as citizens, as individuals, to find jobs by scraping the market. Then what matters is to be able to get a job, what kind of a value that can add to the organization, what kind of a value that you can add to the shareholders, because that for them, that's what matters. Because if you look at nowadays, if you take 10 CVs of 10 different people, 10 out of 9 will have a basic degree or a professional qualification, and 8 out of 10 will definitely have an MBA. Yeah. So it's up to us how we really, differentiate ourselves from the competition. Competition is common not only for organizations. Competition that something exists as individuals. So that's where the power of personal branding comes in. So if you are perceived as a super brand, that means when you perceived as a expert in particular area, you will be definitely hired. So personal branding is a critical tool to differentiate yourself from your competition. As a result, you'll be able to get better benefits, better jobs, and better opportunities. That's number one. Number two, to me, is when you are a brand, you will be able to associate with right type of people. When I say right type of people, that means the subject matter expert, it can be within the same domain, or it can be from other domain which is related to your industry. Because when you have a higher perceived value, you will be looked at as a SME. if not the subject matter expert. So the more you network, you will be opening up yourself for greater opportunities. Greater opportunities means it can be in terms of financials, it can be in terms of non-financial. So you will basically increase your overall credibility as a brand, as a person. So that's something which is critical. That's number 2. And number 3, how it will be effective in corporate domain is irrespective of the position that you hold, right? So it can be irrespective of the position that you hold. Despite you are a blue collar job holder or white collar job holder, if you have developed that brand, if you have developed that expertise or the specialization in one particular area, your ideas will be taken seriously. Your ideas will be heard by the management, and it will be valued. And your ideas actually matters to the organization that you work for, and or the community club that you work for, or volunteer and non-volunteer organization that you work for will matters. So you will automatically become a subject matter expert. So I mean, when you cover all these the complete domain, it will leads to lots of benefits, as I mentioned earlier.
Yes. Branding is a crucial component in success, and as you mentioned, Asitha, it's a critical tool to differentiate oneself from the others. So during our talk, we mentioned about personal branding. We talked about what personal branding is and how beneficial it is to a person's career, and how personal branding would lead to a successful career. Then our viewers must be having a question, Asitha. How can one establish personal branding? You will have a good answer for that as well.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyway, thanks for the question again. To me, personal branding will not come at free of charge. As I mentioned, you need to work relentlessly to develop your brand. Same as that you invest in your organizational brand or the products or the services that you sell. To me, the number one important factor is, as I mentioned, the material stuff not being the core. It's about the level of competencies that you have developed as a brand. So it can be engineering, it can be marketing, it can be advertising, it can be sports, it can be community service, whatever the subject domain. It can be medicine, whatever the subject domain, whatever the industry that you are in. It's critical to develop that expertise. As I mentioned, your name should be the first name to pop up, or rather come to other person's mind when they want to get something done. So to be able to do that, it's important to specialize and acquire that right set of technical and soft skills. So that is number one, specializing your area. And number two, to me, it's about leadership. When I say leadership, it's not about knowing the theory, it's not about knowing the technical know-how, it's about ability to execute, or rather demonstrate your capabilities and ability to get things done. So as I mentioned, it can be at your personal level, or it can be at your community, it can be in your corporate ladder, so corporate career, corporate life. So whatever the subject area, it is critical to demonstrate that leadership and produce results which matters. Otherwise, just absorbing technical competencies will not make you a brand. Your sound technical capabilities and soft skills should be backed by strong credibility of getting things done. Otherwise, you will just become a brand. You will not become a super brand. And number 3 to me is a personality. I do admit the fact that I did mention that what you wear, how you dress will not really matters. But when you perceive yourself as a brand, that of course matters. Even the personality matters up to some extent. Example, if you are, let's take a more classic example, rather traditional example. If you are a medical doctor, and if you happen to visit a patient with a long hair and with 2 pair of sneakers and with cut denim, so I think yes, still you have the technical capabilities, but the end recipient will have a doubt. Okay, this is a real sort of a doctor. So that's why. So personality also matters. It's about how you project yourself. But I reiterate the fact that it's not about being expensive, but it's all about how you demonstrate yourself, how you project yourself, it's about the overall personality. So dress, what you wear, that also will, chip in. But what I'm referring here is the developing overall personality. Yeah. So that's number 3. And number 4 to me is differentiation. As I mentioned, because of the scarcity what we have in the market, it can be opportunities, the economic scarcity, it's critical to differentiate ourselves. So all these factors what we discussed will help to differentiate ourselves. So to be able to differentiate yourself, you need to reinvent, you need to innovate things. So same thing applies for organization. That's why sometimes the global brands, which perceived as number 1, when I was a young person, the best thing, for us, the best thing was to associate a Nokia brand, which at that time considered as the unbeatable brand. And when we were young, taking a photograph from a Kodak camera and having being printed was the thing. That's lifetime memory for us. But look nowadays, what happens? Do we see those brands anymore? Not really, because those organizations were not able to understand the changing human behavior, the consumer wants and needs. Because what we need to understand is the society actually evolve on daily basis with the improved technological capabilities, with digitalization, globalization. The world has actually become flat. It's not round anymore. The world has become flat. So we communicate from CEO to even the beggar on the road, from different communication channels. Therefore, it's critical, it's important to innovate yourself, innovate and do something new, rather than doing what you did yesterday. Because there's a famous saying, you can't expect a better results by doing the same thing what you did yesterday. Yeah, what you got here will not get you there. So you got to reinvent the wheel. And as I mentioned at the beginning of my session, you need to add value to people. The more you add value to people and the society, automatically you will become a brand. So number 4 to me is differentiation. Actually, number 5 is pretty much critical for me. It's about being visible in digital and physically and digitally. That is critically important, because as a brand, you may be the best person in terms of certain technical aspect, but if people are not aware about your capabilities, and if the people are not aware that you actually exist as a person, no one wants to hire you. So you can't really blame the government, simply you can't blame the politicians, you can't blame the culture or the society or the economy. So it's up to us to make ourselves available for the people who need our products and services. Yeah. So your footprint in physical footprint and your digital footprint is really matters. Especially I need to give this message to young people, because I've been really vocal about this. especially on the use of digital media. I need to reiterate the fact that digital media is a great platform, and also you need to remember the fact that digital media, it's not merely a form of communication. It's a reflection of who you are. Social media is really how you reflect, or rather project yourself as a brand. So precisely, when you before you hit the post button or rather like button, you need to think twice, right? Go into more detail. Your personal problems are not my problems, or your friend's problem. So your personal problems shouldn't be on social media. I mean, yes, if it's a very close group, if you only associate only your family members, that's fine. That's a different ball game. But in your network, I'm sure you must be having your bosses, your present boss, your ex-bosses, and even your girlfriend, even your ex-girlfriend, I don't know. So whoever it is, the content that you share, it's a reflection of who you are. So if you really spread garbage stuff, which I call the garbage stuff, which is not really add value to people, then people will consider you as a junk. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I truly agree with you.
Yeah. So make sure whatever that you share is, think twice. Take a step back and think, is this really how I want to see Ramalka as a person? So whatever the post that you share should be contradicting to your personality, rather your overall branding. Because branding, it's about having the right alignment of your audio and your video. That means externally you can't be perceived as a most generous person or the most competent person, but in real world, but if you don't have the ability of helping out to your best friend, then that's a bit of that's a very big question mark. So having said that, be careful of what you post on social media, because nowadays, going to more details, even the companies do check your personal profiles that you associate in digital domain. So that's also really will reflect your personality and as a person who you are. So to me, number 5 is being visible, being available. So you can really do it by yourself. By physically available means, then you can actually, it's not just working from 8 to 5 will not make you a better person. You will be a better employee, but you will not become a better person, because as Jack Ma said, the success of your life determined on not what you do between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but it determines what you do between 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. That's to me that carries a bigger message. So being visible, be associate different trade unions, different community clubs, professional clubs, sports clubs. So whatever the domain, be visible. The more visible you are, you will get more opportunity to associate right type of people, and it will attract right benefits and advantages. So to me, number 5 is the being visible, and number 6 is authenticity. As I mentioned earlier, your audio and video should align. Your digital footprint says something else, and in real life you can't be a different person. You have to be authentic, and your integrity, it has to be aligned to your brand value. Yeah. So to me, that's number 7. And the one final thing is the consistency in your approach. When I say consistency, that applies to our personal behavior and even how we project ourselves and our digital and all other footprint. So our message should be consistent. It can't be contradicting to what we project to our viewers and really who you are. So again, I repeat, your audio should match to your video should match to your audio. So to me, those are the key critical critical factors which help us to, enhance ourselves as a personal brand, to improve our personal branding. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. Specializing in your area, leadership, improving your soft skills, making a difference, being visible physically and digitally, authenticity are some factors, as Asitha mentioned, that would help you to establish or improve your personal branding. So, all the viewers, I hope you got a very clear, a very big picture of what personal branding is and how beneficial it is to you and your career, and how it would help you to climb high up in the ladder of success in your career. One final question to you, Asitha. Apart from personal branding, as you are the district chairman for LEOs of District 306 AirOne, so I would like to ask you this question. What is your view of the current status of LEOs? Can you give a brief idea about it?
Thank you for that question. In fact, as I mentioned, the society has evolved a lot. When I was a Leo, the things, the way we operate was completely different. The way we communicate was different. But with the help of digital capabilities, the digital footprint, the way we communicate, actually the things have become much more seamless and efficient if we really put our heart and souls together. So therefore, actually, yes, we have as organization, we are also District 306 AirOne is also another organization or other brand. So we also had our own ups and downs, but then again we are in good shape right now, and consistently actually we have been improving our benchmark. So, and we have been actually increasing the benchmark. So personally, I feel that we are in good footing. But then again, having said that, the creativity and innovation is the key, and I believe this is also one of the factors that I have been emphasizing as a district chairperson for LEOs, because I do not micromanage things. So this is something actually which we really want to do. How we differentiate ourselves. How we really bring the creativity and innovation of the young people, young people. I mean the LEOs. So this is actually one classic outcome of the LEOs, which demonstrate their capabilities, the leadership. I mean, to do this kind of operation, it's not easy at all. But then again, having said that, they have done a great job. So this, with regard to this particular project. But then again, overall, I'm really happy. So having said that, again, lot more to be done, but it can be done.
Yes, lot more to be done, and it can be done. Thank you for that good note. You're live on AirOne, Brand Me with Asitha Pinnaduwa, and we are indeed privileged to have you here today with us with Brand Me, our TV show. And I hope all of you got a very big idea, a great idea about what personal branding is and how important it is. And thank you very much once again for joining here with us today. We are indeed privileged to have you here today. And thank you for that valuable information conveying to us with your experiences and knowledge. And it's time to wind up for today with Brand Me. And hope you enjoyed the show. And we have some more programs lined up here for you, so stay tuned with AirOne. And I would like to wish you a Merry Christmas, as Christmas is very near. And Asitha, to you as well, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. I'm wishing you the same, and all the LEOs of the district, rather multiple district, and all the Sri Lankans, and rather the whole world.
Thank you, Asitha. And it's time to wind up. And compliments of the season from AirOne team, and advanced Christmas wishes from me. Hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good day. Stay tuned. We are AirOne. Goodbye.